Hey there, YouTube. How are you? Whatever day you happen to be watching this, I sincerely hope you're having a beautiful day. I'm shooting this on a nice afternoon in South Alabama, a Saturday afternoon in South Alabama, and today we're going to get off the subject of food again, and we're going to talk about the illusory self. Who are we? I checked out a couple of books at the library yesterday, and if you don't have a library card, if you're a reader, I highly recommend you getting a library card because it can save you some money. I'm in an area that's got a better library system than I was a year ago, so I've been taking advantage, and this is the second or third time I've checked out books. But I got Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. I read his book, The Power of Now, a few years ago, and I had a little section. Normally, what I'll do when I get any new book, whether I buy it, get it at the library, or whatever, that's irrelevant, is I will go to the table of contents, check it out a little bit, and then I will jump ahead and read certain little passages and just kind of get a little preview of different things. And I saw this yesterday, and I thought this was something that I would really like to share. You can find a lot of good talks by Eckhart. Like I do that a lot of times at night when I can't find something to watch on Netflix or whatever else I'm watching. Is if you'll search Eckhart Tolle and other people, you can find a lot of good talks by them on YouTube. Another person I've been listening to lately on the subject of mindfulness is Joseph Goldstein and Jack Cornfield. I don't think people associate Eckhart Tolle with mindfulness as much just simply because he's not a teacher, he's not a meditation teacher, but when we get into this, you'll definitely see the elements of mindfulness in there. So without any further ado, let's just go ahead and get to it. And we're coming to a section headed The Illusory Self. The word I embodies the greatest error and the deepest truth, depending on how it is used. In conventional usage, it is not only one of the most frequently used words in the language, together with the related words me, my, mine, and myself, but also one of the most misleading. In normal everyday usage, I embodies the primordial error, a misperception of who you are, an illusory sense of identity. This is the ego. The illusory sense of self is what Albert Einstein, who had deep insights not only into the reality of space and time, but also human nature, referred to as an optical illusion of consciousness. That illusory self then becomes the basis for all further interpretations, or rather misinterpretations of reality, all thought processes, interactions, and relationships. Your reality becomes a reflection of the original illusion. The good news is, if you can recognize illusion as illusion, it dissolves. The recognition of illusion is also its ending. Its survival depends on your mistaking it for reality. In the seeing of who you are not, the reality of who you are emerges by itself. This is what happens as you slowly and carefully read this and the next chapter, which are about the mechanics of the false self we call the ego. So what is the nature of this illusory self? What you usually refer to when you say I is not who you are. By a monstrous act of reductionism, the infinite source of who you are is confused with the sound produced by the vocal cords or the thought of I in your mind, and whatever the I has identified with. So what do the usual I and the related me, my, or mine refer to? Good question. When a young child learns that a sequence of sounds produced by the parent's vocal cords is his or her name, the child begins to equate a word, which in the mind becomes a thought, with who he or she is. At that stage, some children refer to themselves in the third person. Johnny is hungry. Soon after, they learn the magic word I and square it and equate it with their name, which they have already equated with who they are. Then other thoughts come and merge with the original I thought. The next step are thoughts of me and mine to designate things that are somehow part of I. This is identification with objects, which means investing things, but ultimately thoughts that represent things with a sense of why, thereby deriving an identity from them. When my toy breaks or is taken away, intense suffering arises. Not because of any intrinsic value that the toy has. The child will soon lose interest in it and it will be replaced by other toys, other objects, but because of the thought of mine. The toy became part of the child's developing sense of self, of I. And so as the child grows up, the original I thought attracts other thoughts to itself. It becomes identified with a gender, possessions, the sense-perceived body, a nationality, race, religion, profession, other things the I identifies with or roles, mother, father, husband, wife, and so on. Accumulated knowledge or opinions, likes and dislikes, and also things that have happened to me with quotes, in the past, the memory of which are thoughts that further define my sense of self as me and my story. These are only some of the things people derive their sense of identity from. They are ultimately no more than thoughts held together precariously by the fact that they are all invested with a sense of self. This mental construct is what you normally refer to when you say I. To be more precise, most of the time it is not you who speaks when you say or think I, but some aspect of that mental construct, the egoic self. Once you awaken, you still use the word I, but it will come from a much deeper place within yourself. Most people are still completely identified with the incessant stream of mind, of compulsive thinking, most of it repetitive and pointless. There is no I apart from their thought processes and the emotions that go with them. This is the meaning of being spiritually unconscious. When told that there is a voice in their head that never stops speaking, they say, "What voice?" or angrily deny it, which of course is the voice, is the thinker, is the unobserved mind. It can almost be looked upon as an entity that has taken possession of them. Some people never forget that the first time they disidentified from their thoughts and thus briefly experienced the shift in identity from being the content of their mind to being the awareness in the background. For others, it happens in such a way that they hardly notice it, or they just notice an influx of joy or inner peace without noticing the reason. That just resonates, that hits, and that is what I'm constantly working on. That's what the whole purpose of mindfulness works on, and these are things that I really realized through my meditation practice. It comes through the type of meditation that I do. For instance, I practice mindfulness meditation. So when I'm practicing mindfulness meditation, I keep mine very simple, and I'm just focused on the breath. Just more of an awareness. I'm aware that I'm breathing in, and I'm aware that I'm breathing out. And there are little glimpses, even though I've been, sitting daily for over a year, and I've meditated a fair amount in my life. It's a never-ending process, and sometimes I'll get those glimpses of when I'm like in that place, and I understand exactly what I just read means. I mean, I understand it on an intellectual level, but that is mine. That's mine talking to you. When you are meditating, the thing that people always talk about when it comes to meditation or mindfulness, mostly meditation, is that they're always getting distracted. Thoughts are coming up, they're thinking, they're doing that. And that is not the I, that is not the you, that is not the true self, that is mind talking. That is those glimpses of the true self, and that's the watcher. And I like to use that word like that. I've heard other meditation teachers use that as the watcher. The watcher isn't the one that's thinking, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, but he's just the most simple. He's the awareness. He's the watcher. It is no he, it is no she. It is just consciousness, basically, basic consciousness, which gets confused a lot with the mind. And I know all these different terms is just kind of can be kind of confusing, but as I'm breathing in, when all I'm focused on is breathing in and breathing out, that's when the true self is just aware, and that's the watcher. That's the one that's just kind of aware with no thought. There's no thinking, oh, this is good or this is bad. There's no judgment on it. There's no anything but just the pure awareness, just taking it in. So anyhow, hope you guys liked that one. I highly recommend Eckhart Tolle. The other people I recommended, like I say, get a book at the library. If you're not really a reader, just search these people on YouTube, and there's lots of wonderful talks out there. Or if you're in your car a lot, I'm listening to, I'm going back to listening to Joseph Goldstein podcast right after this. So thanks for tuning in again, and I'll see you probably tomorrow or the next day. Peace.